Good morning, you beautiful people. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day today. Welcome to my Gears of War 4 Insane Difficulty Guide. This is Act 3, Chapter 2, Night Terrors. This is where Gears of War 4 really starts testing you. This is no longer a fun, adventurous ride, shooting robots, and being all happy for Gears of War. No. This is where the game starts punishing you and demanding more and more from you. Right here, we're going to get introduced to the Juvies. The Juvies are, in my opinion, a really poorly used enemy, at least in the later half. In this beginning introduction, I really like how they are, but this is why I'm holding on to a Retro Lancer. The Retro Lancer here is a one-hit kill to these Juvies. And it's something that you're gonna need to practice. Without a shadow of a doubt, the melee in this game is a little bit weird. The Retro Lancer especially, it seems to have a little bit of delay, but it's really effective, as you can see there. If you master it, you can almost kind of train them around if they get a little too close, like you can in Call of Duty Zombies and all that stuff. But I really like the Retro Lancer, also because it does a lot of damage, and if you get a couple shots on target, they will most likely die. So it's a good weapon to shoot at the Juvies, as well as if they get too close. It's a really good all-around weapon to take out these Juvies, and that's what I like to do here. I don't like to take cover. I just sit here and get ready for these Juvies because they jump all around and they're really difficult to hit. And the reason that I like them is, well, first of all, I love how they look. That little cutscene that you saw at the beginning is a really beautiful cutscene, and I love their anatomy. I love how they look. I love how they sound, because when an enemy in a game sounds threatening, and when you hear a sound and it automatically makes you tense, or it makes you expect an engagement or expect an enemy, that's really cool, and it's a really well done mechanic. The Juvie howl and the scream is really well done, and I like it a lot. I haven't popped any of these pods. I kind of want to go through the campaign maybe on a casual difficulty and pop these pods to see if there's any sort of ammo or special stuff or collectibles in there, because that would be a really cool little addition. Or maybe we get a Juvie and they scream and then we die. I don't know. I didn't want to test that this run. But like I said, this is really the first chapter where the game starts really demanding things from you. And the Swarm here are relentless. They are ruthless. And we're going to get introduced to these guys later on in the mission. And there's going to be a new type of enemy that's personally one of my favorite enemy types in the game. But we'll save that for later. And I love the Gears of War 4, their take on the beautiful destruction, especially in this beginning chapter. The first three acts, the first three missions of this, the first three chapters of this act is beautiful. They're so beautiful. This engagement right here, sort of like the other engagement, though you have a little bit less of a reaction time. You can see them drop down there. They're going to jump over this cover, try to learn where their heads are as they're jumping down. They're going to jump on the side and then jump down there. Just try to get good at aiming at them. They do dodge like that. You kind of saw him there. He jumps to the left. It's incredibly difficult to shoot those guys. But there's going to be another invisible tripwire around this corner that you're going to see me brace for. And there's one or two that'll pop up from there. One guy that'll go from here. Luckily, there's not a lot of barriers for them to jump over, and this section is actually quite a humorous section if you're not playing on the Insane Difficulty Guide. And my goal here is we're going to get swarmed by some Juvies right here as soon as we get this ammo crate, so I'm going to just run and book it out of here. I don't want anything to do with that. And usually you have to fight these guys. I got lucky here, which I'm not particularly fond of. I don't like getting lucky in walkthroughs, but I think you guys get the point. It's not the most difficult engagement here. You just sit here and wait for the juvies. Luckily, my teammates took care of them for me, but I think you guys get the point. Just shoot them as they come out of there. It's really not all that difficult. You are probably gonna die if you're not familiar with this, so just prepare for that. It's not that big of a deal, but put that in your mental note for Gears of War 4 on Insane, that you're probably going to die a few times. Now, there's also going to be another ambush here at the end of this where that door is. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take out that sack right there, which is a phrase I never thought I would say on YouTube, but you're going to take care of that pod right there. Now, the first couple times I played this on Insane, that always spawned a juvie, like every single time. So I was so ready for juvies to spawn, and I got a Screecher, and he popped everything. And of course, you're going to see the strategy that I use. Of course, right here, it's the same strategy that you've seen during this encounter all the time. I'm going to get attacked here. I'm just going to peace out of there. I'm going to nope out of there and run all the way back to the beginning area. What's frustrating about this section is that's really dangerous. That section is really, really dangerous, and you get no checkpoints up until right here as we finish this last encounter. It's very challenging and very punishing if you die, so don't die. Get good, take it slow, take it methodically, and be careful for those juvies. Those juvies are a 2-hit kill for you. So if they hit you once, you're 1 hit away from being dead. Very, very challenging. Very unforgiving, I'll say. So always be careful with that. But they're just giving you a taste. They're just giving you a little tiny taste of what's going to happen with the swarm here. The swarm themselves are very unforgiving. The AI is a little smarter than the DBs, than the shepherds. They're actually a lot more aggressive than the shepherds as well. But I particularly am fond of their sort of, their design, their anatomy, how they look. It's really cool. They're the locust, but not quite the locust. It's really nice. Now, this encounter is basically like all the other encounters with the juvies that we've had before. The fog rolls in a little bit. There's some invisible tripwires. You'll see that I actually died here. The difficult part of this section is this first part. This guy's going to scream there on the rooftop, and it's basically just a lot of juvies at the same time. And the strategy here is let your teammates take care of it. Let your teammates do all the work and take care of the juvies from a distance. You're going to want to pray that your teammates do take care of them. Look at how many there are in this first wave here. This first little encounter, there's a whole bunch of them, and luckily my teammates took care of them. So take care of some of the juvies with your Retrolancer from a distance as best you can, because if you get more than 1 or 2 juvies that you have to melee that get past Dell in this little piece of cover here, that's when this section really starts to get dangerous. I'm marking juvies because, well, 1, I really hope that my teammates will focus fire on it, and number 2, it helps me aim at them because it's a little bit foggy here. And for the remainder of this engagement, there's maybe 2 or 3 more invisible tripwires where you're going to get another handful of juvies. There's not a whole lot of them after that first engagement, but there are plenty enough to where it's annoying, because like the previous section and like many other sections to come, there has not been a checkpoint yet. So if you die, even in the last engagement of these juvies, you have to play the entire thing all over again, which is kind of sad in my opinion. It's one of the downfalls and one of my nitpicks here of Gears of War 4. Now, if that first engagement was the only engagement that we had with these juvies in this section, that would be quite enjoyable. That would be quite fun. But they just keep giving them to you. They just keep throwing them at you. And in my opinion, I don't see a reason why. I mean, I've seen this play space, I've fought the juvies, and I've won. But now here I am, inching closer until I get another line of dialogue saying, oh, they just keep coming. And I gotta run all the way back. And there's no checkpoint. There's no kind of reward for me beating this. There's no point, I'll say, in fighting these guys 4 times over. This is basically the same engagement 4 different times, and that's something that's really, really bad about Gears of War 4. They love to prolong these engagements. They love to just keep you here shooting these guys, and it's kind of not fun after a certain while, especially if you've been dying for so long. Now, I was lucky enough to actually get good enough or get lucky enough to where I didn't die over and over again, so it was quite enjoyable. But if you are uncomfortable with the engagements, it can be quite demanding and it can be quite frustrating to play the same sections over and over and over again. And I mean, once you've been in a fight and defeated wave after wave and you're having trouble on one specific area, it's so taxing. It's so draining on you as a player. And Gears of War 4 almost punishes you by making you fight. It almost punishes you by playing the game more than you actually want to, which is actually really bad game design in my opinion. But we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that more, because we are going to be facing the first Swarm, the first drone version of the Swarm right here. Now, this strategy, as soon as we kick in this door, is I like to take cover here and get as much fire on that guy as possible. I was actually unlucky here a little bit, because usually that guy kind of is stunned by my Retro Lancer a little bit more than he is. Now, this first encounter is a little difficult because we are introduced to what I'm going to call the Russian Swarm, because there's a point in time where the Swarm will say, hey, this guy's playing on the insane difficulty. He can't kill me faster than I can run up and melee him in one hit. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to run up and I'm going to melee him, and there's nothing he's going to be able to do about it. so that's probably one of the biggest difficulties about this section. About these Swarm is that they will rush you and they're unforgiving. But for those first 3 Swarm, I should have said, I like to push up here, because those first 3 Swarm will actually fall back if you push up here. I know it's on the insane difficulty and it's like, whoa, I don't want to get close to the enemies. But if you push up to here, those Swarm will actually fall back a little bit, which is really, really nice. And so once you fight those 3, there's going to be another 3 that spawn from that... I actually don't know what they call it, so I'm going to call it the emergence hole. I think that's the best way. The emergence hole comes from there, and so you're going to get some more enemies. And look at this, there's a Russian locust, there's a Russian Swarm, and that is something that you will probably rarely ever see on this playthrough, is an execution. But man, do I love that execution. Look at that. Another Russian locust, or another Russian Swarm. Look at that. Look at him, boo. Oh, dude, he's just so relentless. Now, that's very, very challenging, and that's very lucky for me. What I would have done is, or should have done, I probably should have fallen back to those original benches, those original pews, and taken care of the Swarm that way. That was really lucky. And so another thing that's really cool is that we're going to get some Swarm coming through here, so I like to take cover in this emergence hole and just take care of these guys with my Retro Lancer. This Retro Lancer is really good at that medium to close range engagements, and this is quite a fun little series of engagements that we're going to get into here with the Swarm here. And they do a really fun job of mixing it up here. And I will say, now I did say before that I don't do executions very often here, but for some reason, for this chapter, the Swarm are just weak enough to where your weapons will, for the most part, put them in a down but not out state to where you can run up and execute them. So if you want to go for some fun and kind of cheeky executions, this is the chapter to do it. And I think it's because they're not as armored as they are in later missions. For this hallway, I don't like to shoot down any cover because there ain't no way I'm going to try to roll the dice with the juvies here. And you'll see, I shot that guy. He's still alive, but he's in a down but not out state. And I didn't know if I was going to get any more enemies, so I just kind of took him out with my Lancer. This is some engagements that you have to kind of anticipate here, because we're going to be working with some 90-degree angles. We're going to get some more juvies, and I'm running low with my Retro Lancer ammo, so I'm going to take care of these juvies. There's only like 2 or 3 of them. Look at that guy dodge out of the way of my melee. Oh, it's ridiculous. There's only 2 or 3 of them. But you time it right, they're not that big of a deal, especially with the Retro Lancer. With the regular Lancer or any other, like a Hamburst, it might be a little bit more demanding or kind of tricky. But if you have the Retro Lancer, they're really not all that difficult. They're kind of satisfying, because when you hit them, their head gushes, and you have a very satisfying sound of their bodies just kind of exploding. There's a really juiciness to it that I really like, which I didn't think I would be saying. But oh, there's another Russian swarm there. And again, I don't like to shoot down any of these pods, because I don't want to mix up the gameplay with juvies. And here we are. This guy is down but not out, so I'm going to take this opportunity, take out my snub pistol, and get one of these executions on him. It's so satisfying, and it's a really cool thing about Gears of War that I wish the insane difficulty allowed you to do a little bit better. Those executions are really fun. This is the section where you've got to keep your head on a swivel right here. I switched to my regular Lancer because I'm kind of running out of ammo, and we're going to switch out that Retro Lancer here in the upcoming chapter. We're going to switch that out. I accidentally shot that pod, so I got to take care of that juvie, but you're going to want to make sure that you keep your head on a swivel here, and you don't want that guy to rush you in any sort of way. Make sure you're fighting against those Russian swarms there. So that's really nice. And that was a really fun engagement here in this church. Really good introduction to these enemies. And from that first engagement, you can really tell how different the AI seems to be from the DBs and the swarm here. Now, this is an interesting section. There are 2 ways of handling this section. I'm going to show you one way and talk about the other way. This is the easiest way, because there's an Easter egg that we need to do here in order to not only make this section easier, but make another section easier. Take out your grenades right here, and you're going to throw a grenade in that emergence hole here. Now there's an Easter egg. There's some gravestones, and they're gravestones with some letters. This is MA, and we're going to shoot this MA tombstone. Now there are other tombstones with an R, an I, and an A, spelling out Maria. That tombstone right there that I'm going to look at, that tombstone that I shoot, that most back one that's facing kind of 90 degrees away from me, that's an R. We're going to try to spell out Maria here. There's another tombstone right there that has the I, and then there's one last tombstone farther away that has the A. So you're going to want to time when you jump around cover to where that sniper shoots. Once the sniper shoots to your left, because there's a sniper up there, once he shoots, you'll change cover, and that'll be when it's safe. But there's one last tombstone that has the A on it right there. Once you shoot that tombstone, once you spell out Maria, this fog will roll in, all of the enemies will die, and there will be a very, very cool and surreal Easter egg. This is brilliant. I love this about the Gears of War games. Their Easter eggs are phenomenal. Now, what this is going to do is not only is it going to kill every single swarm in this engagement, but it's going to give you a special Easter egg weapon. And I'll talk about that later. But if you want to do this section, there is this is actually a really cool little thing. I'll speed it up here. There's some emergence holes that you saw me kind of neglect, but you just throw grenades in there. You take out the enemies. It's very box standard engagement, but I didn't feel like doing that for this walkthrough. I felt like doing this because this is going to help you guys out the most. This is the best situation. This is the best strategy that you can use. And there you go, the Memento Mori Easter egg weapon. This is going to help you out, not only here for this engagement, like I said before, but this is a special pistol capable of one-shotting every single enemy in the game, including the Swarmok boss in Act 4, and it can one-hit kill melee anything as well. This is incredible, and you have 18 shots at your disposal. I am going to reserve all of those shots. I might test it out on the Swarmak boss, but I want to play through this game as legitimately as I possibly can. So I'm going to use that pistol sparingly. So that's what I'll say about the pistol. Very, very useful. I am going to highly recommend you use it. However, I will say, do not, I repeat, do not reset the chapter ever, because it will reset your weapon. So don't ever reset the chapter, because you will lose that pistol. But here we are. This is my new favorite enemy type, and I think all of the Gears of War franchise, the Pouncer. This is an enemy type that is quintessential Gears of War. So there are 3 different ways, I guess 4 different ways. You can shoot him with the special pistol and he will get one shot, but there are so many different ways of taking out this guy. The first way, the most dangerous way, is grenade tagging him. This is not just one of those Dom-Toms grenades, but you can grenade tag all of those guys and they will explode in one hit. After you kill the first guy in this particular engagement, 2 more will spawn, and my strategy for this is taking cover on this green truck. They can pounce on this truck, but they will never kind of execute you after pouncing on this truck. I don't know what it is, what's so special about this truck, but you'll see they can knock you off the truck, but they will never pounce on you if they pounce on this truck. I think you'll see actually in the gameplay here. But probably the best way, he pounces me off the truck, but he doesn't really execute me. Whereas in later missions, if you do get pounced on in cover by a pouncer, you're probably gonna die. So that's probably the way you're gonna kill most of those guys, is by just taking cover and shooting their belly a bunch. That's the most standard way of dealing with those bad guys. However, there is one way. If you have one pouncer left, and you're going to see me do it here. This is incredibly fun. And the Pouncer has your teammate right here. He's going to pounce on Kate. I'm going to bump him off. I'm going to kick him. And I'm going to chainsaw him. He is an instant chainsaw kill on Insane. There are so many different ways of taking out the Pouncer. It's so fun. It's so great. I freaking love the Pouncer. And I also love the Pouncer just because of the way he works mechanically. He'll take you out of cover, but his kind of, what do you call it, his ranged attack, his little thorns that he shoots at you will make you stay in cover, but he never does them at the same time. He never knocks you out of cover and then bam, kills you. I guess if you're close enough to him, he will. But he's so fair, and he's so Gears of War, and it's so great and amazing. And I love the Pouncer. So there you go. That was Gears of War 4, Act 3, Chapter 2. I forget what this was. Nightmare or something like that. Anyway, hopefully this guide has helped you out. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until the next absolutely beautiful Gears of War morning, I'll catch up with you guys later. And as always, stay beautiful.